I just realized that I haven't had my mic. See, okay, so this is what we were talking about, right? Like whenever there's a Windows update, it just resets your audio settings. Apparently, my OBS has not had my mic registered my mic at all. So all up to now, nothing has been recorded. So that's fucking great.
Oh, you had the same issue that I had with D&D for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, luckily, I've reached a point now where every time I'm streaming something, I like check out my mixes to make sure, hey, is everything all right? And sure enough, it wasn't.
I'm glad you checked.
That would have been a fuck. It would just have been an audio recording of you talking to yourself.
Oh no, they're not here for that. Hey, why
not? So yeah, right off the bat, there's some a little, I won't say house cleaning because it sounds like there's some dirt, but just a PSA, which is that if any of you were a big fan of the stream that we did of Elseron Chronicles, I am sorry to say that you won't be able to find that live stream anymore. And that is because the other day I got an email from Richard, the creator of the comic, who very politely asked me if I could remove that video because he wanted to move on to other things. And he kind of worried that this one was going to haunt him. And, you know, in more or less in his words, he said that he had learned his lesson. And I make it sound like we were scolding him, but like he had learned a lot from us covering the comic, and thus, you know, he kind of wanted that to be the takeaway, not this weird fetish thing. So yeah, to respect his wishes, I have unlisted the stream. So yeah, you won't be able to find that anymore. I won't like. It's one of those things where I kind of have to think about, like, what if someone comes. So we're lucky, we're fortunate that the thing that we experienced this with for the first time is it's a live stream, so it's not like in any official context or anything. But
I mean, like, it's got to be saved around as a podcast, so
yeah.
But it's been like mentioned in the Discord server. We made an announcement for it.
Absolutely, but it's one of those things where it's not a webcomic relief episode, and then I kind of had to like make up my mind. And what if someone actually asks for me to take down a webcomic relief episode? Am I gonna give the same courtesy? It's one of those things where I actually don't know. I've been trying to kind of like work my head around, like, why is it that I want to take down, like, why is it that I want to agree to take down Elseron Chronicles, but not say unsounded, just at the top of my head. Like, why would I want to keep that up? And I think it's because with that live stream, we went everywhere. The comic especially, but there's also the whole story about how I got to hear about that comic and all that stuff, and it just and we've been talking like us mods, and it's one of those things where I don't really feel that reflects the webcomic relief. It kind of got a little mean spirited.
Go
on.
No, I was actually going to say, like, we did like get rid of a not a stream before in the past. Yeah, we did before Lassa did a proper Lightbringer review. We had a Lightbringer Jello Cartello stream, and that one especially, we were just toxic people, and we didn't like that stream. Looking back,
I feel like that one came hot off the presses of Mr. Medica's Linkara video. And all this stuff about Linkara had been, you know, outed, and so we were like, oh my god, we need to get in. I won't say that and of course I don't want to put words into people's mouths, but I think in subconsciously we kind of wanted to get in on on this whole like, did you fucking see this shit? Like kind of like when there's drama or something, everyone like wants to be like, hey, have you heard about this thing or something? And I think that was kind of where it all originated from. But when all was said and done, we didn't really have like a whole lot to add. It like, guess what? Linkara has a fucking terrible webcomic. But that was not what the stream ended up becoming. The stream ended up becoming like almost a fucking full hour of us just talking dog shit about Lewis. And yeah. And so that's why we took that down. But when it came to Elseron Chronicles, it was specifically requested by its creator for us to go and take a look at it. Probably not as a live stream, but as a webcam relief episode. So I think that we were more like pardoned for actually going in on the webcam because again the creator had requested it, but. Like I think that we also talked about in the mod chat is that one of the reasons why we kind of stopped doing streams is because I think we all, without even like discussing it or anything, kind of came to the conclusion that these riff streams, while they can be somewhat fun, and they were, I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but it does come at the cost of someone. And that someone in these cases tends to be the creators of these comics. And I don't know if it was you or someone, but I remember someone brought up the point of like when you like riff on a movie or something, you're just kind of throwing it out into the ether. But when it's a webcomic or something, and you are a bunch of various creators or comic artists or writers or whatever, you're just taking turns at dunking on something. It kind of becomes like we're not dunking in the ether. We're dunking on Richard, or Phil, or what do you call if there's been others that we've dunked on, or Lewis. So it's one of those things where like I don't feel like that reflects where I want to go with the webcomic relief. And I will say I'm kind of happy with the latest 2 streams of Tales Gets Trolled and Randomwist, because those are the ones where we're not laughing at them, we're laughing with them, and I definitely want it to be like that.
Yeah, like the reason we haven't been doing the streams at all, just because like we could never get like a thing nowadays. I want to stress out like Lasse's in Denmark, I'm in America. Like how like I think Hugo's in Sweden, Hayden's in Australia. We got like people all over the fucking place, and trying to like juggle like time zones is hell.
And before we've had people in Florida, New York, Canada, like all over the fucking map. So it's actually impressive that we've even managed to have as many streams as we've had.
Yeah.
I will say it does make it easier for these we've only done 2 at this point, but like these charity streams where we just go like for a full day, because like it's morning for someone.
I do want to say like we need someone to at least be here 24 hours a day to be, or like someone to hold on to the stream keys to the channel at the very least, because we can't have another thing where the entire stream goes down at 4 a.m. and we have to rush into one Picardo chat.
Oh yeah, that
was like the most proud thing I was as a moderator, that we came up with that solution like super fast.
Can't believe. Oh, go on.
But no, it's just like that was just something none of us could foresee, because that was when we learned that Discord actually does have a timeout timer.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it like a lot could go better with these 24-hour streams, but the fact of the matter is that there's a huge difference between like streaming for like 10 people or 100 people and doing that for like a few hours. It's an entirely different thing when you have to coordinate with a bunch of different people, both people who are going to be behind the scenes and people who are going to be on the scene, and then you have to do that for 24 hours. Again, I cannot stress enough how we would not have a fucking timetable if it hadn't been for Alice. And and even though we thought like, okay, we've kind of got it playing, we kind of got it all figured out. Then we find out at ass o'clock. Oh, by the way, we didn't make a fucking chat mod. People are just fucking talking all the dumbest, meanest shit in chat, and we can't do anything about it.
Yep.
So, I dare say it's been a learning experience, but, fact of the matter is we did raise a bunch of money for charity, nonetheless.
I was proud of those. Those were really good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I wanted to backtrack to Richard a bit.
Yeah.
Just because I think I was the one who talked about the whole ether thing, where it's just something that comes with the medium. When you're a webcomic creator, you're not just the artist, you're not just the writer, you're not just the director, storyboarder, or the editor. You are everything at once. So I guess involuntarily, a webcomic is going to be more personal to you than it is to say the creators of the Marvel movies. Yeah, you can always point at the director, but he's not the only one who fucking made it. There's a bunch of fucking actors, there's a lot of fucking screenwriters, a lot of fucking God bless the sweatshop animators for all the effects they have to do just because it's a huge studio. But when you have practically a town of people all working on one single project, and you want to throw it onto the big guy in the chair, it's not going to be as meaningful.
No.
Compared to the guy who had to stretch himself so thin to just make this work. And I think that's something we definitely became more aware of. That's not to say you're not allowed to criticize anything.
No,
because you
not.
are.
Everything that you put out online is open for criticism.
Yeah, but at the same time, that doesn't dissuade the whole. This is going to affect somebody.
Yeah.
And at least for the Elzeron Chronicles stream, I think we weren't as vicious as we were to Richard as we were to Lewis.
No.
It was mostly just sheer astonishment because at the time it is a ride. It's a full blown. There was me and Emily read the entirety of the comic before the stream happened, and we were looking at each other aghast, wanting to have this continue because we wanted to do every single part of it. Because there was everything that we saw there was the most child friendly shit compared to what happens later. Because things got a lot more sexually charged and a lot more confusing in a very uncomfortable way. But that's neither here nor there.
No.
But just from the sheer reaction of the beginning and the fact that it got worse later, I think Richard kind of put in his head okay, he had to put the brakes on this. Which I do want to bring up because I had my own encounter with Richard years ago, back when I still had my DeviantArt account. I actually found his and I contacted him through there because I found him actually redoing Elzeron Chronicles a second time.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And I looked through it and he actually made a lot of the things we would point out, the fact we had to censor every single goddamn thing where there was steel camel toes and nipples molded into the armor. He made good care to make sure none of that was there. They were more feminine proportioned. There wasn't as overtly fucking and sex all the time, but it was toned down by a lot. And and his writing was actually a lot more coherent. Reading through the first fucking 7 pages of the Elzeron Chronicles, that whole diarrhea of the mouth of exposition, he actually found a way to condense his writing into a more understandable kind of thing. I'm not saying it was Shakespeare or anything, but improvement is improvement, and I had to give him props for that.
I think one of the things that you can absolutely say about Richard is that let's not mince words. Elseworld Chronicles was fucking batshit insane, and I think like that's why everyone loves that. It loves it so much because every page turn is like a what the fuck. But I think if there's one thing you can say is that I don't think there has been a lot more creators of whose comics I've covered, or we've covered for that matter, that has taken the criticism with such an open mind and like legit applied themselves to their work after we have brought up like various different issues. And I think that is insanely commendable because we even like apologized for it at the very beginning of the stream, where it's like, we're gonna go in and we're sorry, but some of this is gonna come across harsh. And Rich has just been listening to it all and applied it to the best of his abilities to the comic, and that is legit impressive and deserves a lot of respect in my book, because it's one thing to get criticism when you ask for it. It's another thing to have it be talked about online, and it's an entirely different thing completely to have a bunch of assholes sit online and riff on it and laugh at how fucking fucked up it is. That, and so to even like to get so much out of those streams, that is actually like very, very impressive. And I wish Richard all the best in his future endeavors, because if he can take criticism like that and actually work like create something with that criticism, then I absolutely believe that there is a growth spurt waiting to happen in that guy.
Like, I want to put it out there. You have been crucified for far less by, like, I want to say, like, thousands of other people, specifically fans and, like, some creators who wanted, like, death threats against you because you didn't say it wasn't the best fucking thing in the world. And, like, I don't think, like, even on somebody like Meanest Ones, I think we went in harder against, like, Richard, and it was, like, a bunch of people, different perspectives, and he took that and, like, actually improved. That's a level of humbling I can't even like push right now. It is insane to me. Like
we fucking again, I think the first hour or something of that stream was just dedicated to how we came across the comic, or I came across the comic. And that was filled to the brim with not necessarily ridicule, but me doing voices and all, and really just outing Richard for the unfortunate encounter that was the first meeting with him. And like, again, like I said, it was insanely mean and just like vicious. And then you have something like, again, my favorite example is House Pets, where I just go, you know what, this is fine. And that has had the fucking creator of that comic have a fucking nervous breakdown.
People trying to like fight you in the comments for many times. You had like forum posters hating you.
The two things came out of that whole review that I still to this day laugh about. One is that I'm not even trying to be mean. I legit do not recall Rick Griffin. I don't. Is that the author's name? I don't recall it. But the creator of House Pets was like very adamant that I was just talking out of my ass and going lol furries. And despite of that, he still changed his website after I pointed it out. So it's like, well, what which one is it? Am I talking out of my? And the other one is, and I've even tweeted it out a few times, where it's like, I can wake up in a cold sweat knowing that someone is this stupid, which is someone who wrote something to the effect of that my video was not a review, because a review would be if I looked online to see what everyone else had said about the comic and then made a judgment and then and then like taken all of that feedback, compartmentalized it into a single video and let that be the review. And it's just like, that is so it is inhumane how retarded that is, because it's one of those things where then who's the first review? Because like, you want me to look at other people's reviews to make my review. Okay, fine. But then what the fuck makes their reviews? Like, because if you are the first one to make a review of this thing, you cannot have had other people to base your opinion on. Like, it's so... It's bad.
Yeah. But yeah, like, fucking, I'm sorry, just... You have, like, the weirdest spikes of, like... We're gonna harp on this every time we get a chance, but, like, you have the weirdest spikes of, like, fans coming after you for not even the worst. Like, I would say that the worst, like, the most you've ever gone in for, and, like, that, like, could... I'm not gonna say justify, but, like, the most understandable why they'd have that reaction would be, like, the Made in Abyss of you.
Yeah.
Because, like, straight up, you pointed out the whole... the things that shouldn't have been drawn that are drawn in the webcomics, like, and then you got, like, the worst of the worst of the worst of those fans coming out, being actual fucking creepos. And
you mean like the dude who was like, oh, so seeing you have an issue with the toddlers hung up in shibari bondage naked for filler chapters because the creator likes children. You're probably the same person who has a problem with this ad that ran in Denmark where adult women's breasts are shown on the side of a bus to promote breast cancer awareness. What the fuck is that comparison?
Like you fucking pointed out the whole weird, like, lolicon shit in that goddamn story. But, like, I would understand that backlash, because that is, like, the only time you ever said reading this story makes you feel like one of those gross people. But, like, for everyone else, your biggest sin is always, this is fine.
Yeah. This is fine.
This is fine. It's like, it's whatever. It's not the greatest thing in the world. It's not for me, but I can see why it's for other people. Yeah. That is your biggest sin half the time.
Yeah.
And here comes Richard, where we are actively dunking on him for like 5 hours straight. Not even for like a 30-minute, for like an hour video, because you got big videos, bro. But like for 5 hours, we're dunking on him, and this man comes out a better person.
Yeah.
That is like respect among respect I can give.
Yeah, So to kind of cut this off, because I had another thing that I kind of wanted to just real quick touch on, but to end this topic on, I legit wish Richard all the best going forward, because he has absolutely earned the respect of this European cunt. I'm fucking with it. Seriously, Richard, if you're hearing this, I wish you all the best.
Me too. Like, I'll speak for the mods in Jello Cartel, because, like, it's not just between me and Lassa. We're, like, ever since I told them about the note, we've all had some level of respect for you, so kudos. Good luck, and I wish you the best in all your endeavors.
Absolutely. Then I posted a video this week.
Yes, you did.
I did. Has been doing absolute dog shit numbers. So it's one of those things where, and I remember when I did that whole stream a few months back, where I was like, hey, what do you guys want? Where we came up with the idea of making this podcast. Oh, well, you've been pushing the idea for the podcast for many years.
Yeah.
But the stream where we kind of agreed, okay, let's do a podcast. And in that, people mentioned that one of the things that they wanted in the podcast was, to go a little behind the scenes of the webcomic relief. And I personally enjoy that because, hey, I get to talk about my hobby. But it's obviously not all sunshine and rainbows. It's not like, hey, today I got to totally own a furry with facts and logic, yo. Sometimes it is, hey, I put in insane amounts of hours work into this analysis video of a thing I'm very passionate about, where I'm trying a new segment where I will admit I am trying to appeal a little more to the YouTube gods and doing what other creators are doing, most of all because I've been inspired by those creators. I'm looking at Alex Mukala, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, and Corridor Crew, where it's like these are both professional, these are all professionals in their field, and they look at a thing and then apply the knowledge that they have from them being professionals to analyze a certain topic. And that's what I wanted to do with the Flames of Truth video in Final Fantasy 14. Also just because like I kind of want to move away from the whole thing of me being the anti Final Fantasy guy. They're still not from like they're not all still for me, but it's one of those things where even now, and I've talked at length about this, I had some serious problems with Final Fantasy 7, but Final Fantasy 7 is a fucking great game. But obviously I don't think it's any surprise that my love for the franchise now comes from Final Fantasy 14. So I kind of wanted to, gush a little bit, as well as honestly react and hopefully tell some stuff that people can use for their creative works. I mean, like, I think like the whole thing I covered of color theory and all that stuff in the video, I think that's something that other creators could definitely use for their stories or something. But I think as of right now, and this is in case someone listens to this in 5 years or something, this is coming from a channel that has 10,200 subscribers. It has been up for 3 days or something now. But it's typically in the first days that you get to see like the big numbers. I think maybe it has gotten 300 views. And I know that it's a long video. Surprise. But I feel like it's very condensed. Just because like it's a cinematic that has like symbolism and visual storytelling almost every fucking second, and so I'm a little I won't say disheartened, but it's not very it's not a good feeling to see something that you work so hard on do dog shit numbers, especially when it's a new thing. I think like making analysis is like, is that how you say the plural of analysis?
Analyses, I think is what it is.
Analyses.
You can say analysis video.
Yeah.
Or analysis videos.
Yeah, like making analysis videos is definitely something that I fucking adore. I love digging into something and stuff like that. And that's why I had so much fun reviewing Anarchy Dreamers. There's No Such Thing as Jason. Both of these are things where it's like you really need to fucking like
you need to dig.
Yeah, you need to dig. And that's really fun. I love making my show and tell videos, just again also because it's one of those things where I get to just gush about something that I care a lot about. And also my show and tell videos have also been doing poorly, but it's weird because they're the ones that do like the worst numbers, but those are the ones that people say this is my favorite video that you have done, and it kind of leaves me in like this weird thing where it's like whenever I try something that's not webcomic relief, people are not really willing to give it a chance, and that is a little discouraging. So it's so right now it's, do I stop making designer reacts and just like go, oh, it's a one-off, it didn't work out, or do I try and stick with it and see what happens?
Oh no, it just hit me.
What?
This is the exact same shit that like Doug Walker went through when he was trying to figure out the Nostalgia Critic. Oh my god.
I'm not gonna kill Rai, so don't worry.
Okay,
I'm not gonna invite a bunch of creators from across the world, treat them absolutely like dog shit, don't have any understanding on how to produce a movie, and then make an entire movie based around a farewell to my character without telling anyone about it. That's not me.
Then have to do another video explaining how to bring him back after you did all that, after your venture completely failed. The whole story is like a Greek tragedy. I swear.
It really is.
But like I think this is like a really profound thing, because like now you're in this position where you have something that works, but you want to branch out, but the success just isn't there. Whether it be earned or not, you have to decide what is something you want to do versus what's going to bring you the whatever.
Yeah. And
the YouTube's a fucky game.
It is. It's also funny because it's one of those things where I'm like the fucking I'm living in opposite land. I have made all the air quotes in the world here YouTube career off of covering the most niche, small fucking thing in the world. And then when I tried to branch out to something that by all accounts should be the most wide angle lens for the most people in the entire world thing, it doesn't work. So it's like it works for me when I get to do something for 5 people.
It's this thing I keep telling people whenever I want to tell them, whenever like okay, so something a lot in the webcomic relief like chats that we do in the middle of the night for no reason is trying to capture an audience. And like a lot of people think the best way to do is to, cast a wide net, grab as many people as possible. That might work if you don't have anything established, but I think a better angle to take is always to carve your own fucking niche. And you being like the webcomic guy, being a riser, it's made this place that's wholly yours. There's always going to be like webcomic reviews, and there's especially going to be a lot more coming nowadays if the current comics industry is going the trajectory it is.
Oh yeah.
But it's like you have your own niche. You have your own thing that you can call your own. So I guess to like things like the YouTube algorithm, whenever you like try to expand or try to like grab somebody else, like go onto this new turf, logically, by all accounts, you should be reaching more people, but it just doesn't work. But because you already have that niche carved out and have that like, flow of people coming in for that content specifically, that's always going to do more until you start carving your niche in other places.
Yeah.
So it's weird. You're like on this channel, if you want to branch out, you have to like fucking it's like even though the channel's big, if you want something else to happen, you gotta have to start from square one, which sucks.
Yeah.
Even though you already proved yourself. Second channel, more focus on show and tell and designer.
Right. Could be, but
maybe.
Actually, I wanted to bring this up forever ago. So this is actually a good segue into that. Because I remember there was a talk about one of the creators on the Webcomic Relief Discord who wants to produce a sequel of their webcomic. I don't know if you saw that conversation happening. But they wanted to create a sequel to their webcomic. And so the question then became, do you make the sequel that is going to be different in tone as an extension of your current comic, or do you make an entirely different comic as a sequel? And so if you got like a movie or something, who gives a fuck? Just put Die Hard 2 on it and make it be PG for some reason. Then there's no problem. But when it comes to social, when you are a online creator, you kind of live and die by your audience. So if you go somewhere completely different, and even if you make a post or something, go, hey, check this thing out. My experience is that people don't follow you. Like, the real ones obviously do. Like the people who found out, okay, this is not. I've kind of talked myself into a corner. I don't mean that the people who don't do this aren't good viewers or anything, but like there's people who will watch my show, and then there's people who are like really interested in what I'm doing, and those are the people who will follow me on to Twitch, for example. But then, like, again, if I were to make a second channel, I think at best I could maybe get 100 people on that, like, of my current audience. I'm of the opinion that people are not interested in following a media, even if it's on the same platform, but to a different channel or something, or a different comic or something. And there was kind of like a big back and forth in that conversation, where it was like if this person should make the sequel to their comic as an extension of the current comic, or if they should make an entirely different one on Webtoons or something. What do you think? Like, what's your opinion on this?
So, like, my mind immediately jumps to, like, do I want to make a Dragon Ball Z or a Naruto Shippuden? Because, like, it depends because, like, when you're doing a sequel, you're essentially just doing the same story. Like, it is a different story, and it, like, the thing you're doing right now is, like, preliminary, but it's like, when you're explicitly calling something a sequel, this is just in my opinion, you're still doing the same fucking story. So I think it should still be the same thing. There's going to be a lot of differences you're going to do. There's going to be a lot different tone. But I think in terms, when you use specifically the word sequel, you're still just continuing the story. It's going to go in a wildly different direction. And there's going to be a lot of different themes. It's going to be a lot more serious. But, like, that's kind of what happened with, like, Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Yeah. They kind of went from fucking... Because, like, yeah, the original Naruto was fucking dark in some areas. But then you go to, like the weird, hyper-depressing talks about, like, living in a ninja world with child soldiers everywhere. And, like, that's kind of heavy and complicated and bullshit. But, like, my point is, if you're gonna...
he said about child soldiers. It's kind of heavy.
Yeah, how many people know and love DBZ versus people who know and love the original? Like, that one was a weird thing because like, everyone from Dragon Ball went over to Dragon Ball Z, and that went different. But when Dragon Ball Z hit, like, it exploded. Because, like, I think it was, like, the first one to get, like, transported overseas. Kind of heavy genocide is justified. Listen.
Oh, yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah, fucking Chancellor kind of heavy genocide is justified.
Hey, Clyde, remember the first podcast where you said the genocide was justified?
Yes, I'm still gonna stick with that because isekai are fucking weird. Okay. But, like, the point I'm trying to make here is, like, if you're going to call it a sequel, if you're going to tie it to the original, keep it on the same platform. I think there is a distinct difference between a sequel and a spiritual successor. If you want to make a comic that's a spiritual successor that can even reference the thing, but it goes so far out that it doesn't, unless you knew it was a spiritual successor, you wouldn't make the connection.
So more Boruto than Shippuden.
Exactly. Then fucking go ahead and rebrand and go elsewhere. But I feel like sequels need to be attached to their original if you're going to call it a sequel. If the first story was to build up and then you have more story, the original people following you are going to see this like, oh, you're just adding more chapters. Okay. I think people who follow the story up to that point, they're not going to change it because they're just going to keep reading it for more chapters. They're not going to see that break. Whereas if you're going to start branding it as its own thing, and like, but it is still especially a sequel, you have less of a chance of people going back and reading the pre-comic when you at the starting point of the sequel than you are of losing dedicated readers and won't follow you to the new one. That's my take. I'm fumbling over my words.
No, well, I definitely think that you conveyed the gist of your argument. But yeah, like that was also the point that I was trying to say, which was that from personal experience, I have seen that people do not necessarily follow you, and then like the person that I was arguing against, who by the way brought up some great points. I'm not trying to discredit them at all, but they were like, yeah, but what you're doing on Twitch is different from what you're doing on YouTube, and that is absolutely correct. On Twitch, it's this, or it's me playing fighting games or talking shit about video games or something like that. So I absolutely understand that there is this whole thing of like people who watch for one thing will not necessarily follow you over to a place where you're doing something different. Absolutely. But when it is, which was the case here, when it is a comic that is with the same characters, maybe with a different tone, I would personally also just let it stay with that comic, just because the people who will read this sequel are people who are already interested in your comic. So you like, there's no you have nothing to gain, I feel, for making that leap away from different creators. But that's my take. And again, I've see, that's why I love having the Discord. There's a lot of reasons why I love having the Discord. There's also a lot of reasons why I don't. But one of the reasons why I love having the Discord is because, like, have you be honest with me? Have you ever had this thought, like, what to do if you make a sequel of your comic?
Are you asking me specifically, or are you talking to chat?
No, I'm talking to you.
Okay. Okay, so I actually do, because I'm in the situation where, like, I have this story I really want to tell, and, like, I have it set up in, like, 3 different phases that like, even though in my head it's one continuous story, like, when I have it like separated out, they're all wildly different stories, but they're all the same plot, essentially.
Yeah.
So, and the way I would think with doing it, because, like, I even came up with, like, different titles and names for all of them, even though they're all under the same fucking umbrella in my head. But it's just, I would keep them all together, because my intention is that my story is, you're gonna need all of these for this one series story to be consumed, to be understood.
Okay, so you have had the thought on what to do if you make a sequel. But the point I was making is that I do not think that the majority of people has ever had that thought. And that's one of the reasons why I love having that Discord, is because it is almost a forum of, hey, I have this very unique problem that only comic creators will ever have to deal with. Help. Or artists, or writers. Hey, I don't know how to draw. I'm looking at the Discord now. Draw women from different angles and drawing the breasts on women. Oh,
that is an artist problem as fuck.
Yeah, and then I am 100. We even have like a specific board for it now, where it's like, hey, I have a fucking tutorial for you. And so I think that's one of the coolest thing about the Discord that we made, is that it is a hub for people who, for this very niche thing, but I feel that everyone can gain from. Yeah, exactly. So I'm always just like happy to see people bring something up that I, for one, have not ever thought about, because it rather have the knowledge now than when you have to actually make the leap and then you go, fuck.
Yeah. I guess it's also one of those things where you don't really think about it until you start doing it.
Yeah.
But you have enough people in the pot to, like, come up with their own experiences. Someone's bound to come up with an idea for this.
Absolutely. But then, like, but there's also like so you wanted to separate it into arcs or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, their own little stories or something. And then you have fucking Homestuck, which was like, hey, by the way, now we're doing this weird detective thing in the middle of it all.
Okay, so that one is actually. I'm not gonna tell you all the specific details, but no, that there is reasons for that.
Well, yeah, of course, but it's one of those things where it's like now there's just this massive jump, and you're like, what in the fuck? So it like it's just I think it's an interesting parallel to make.
Yeah, no, it is because it's like. It's one of those things where at the forefront it doesn't seem planned and it's super jarring and it's bullshit. And you know what? Maybe in that point of time it wasn't planned, but then they retroactively made a plan for it, so now it seems planned in hindsight.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things you can always like change. But I don't know where I was going with this. My brain just farted.
Okay, I can pick it up then. Have you ever had like so now that you bring out like this thing about it not being planned or anything? Have you ever had that thing where so you have your story in your head, and if you're anything like me, you're kind of like playing out scenes or something like in your head all the fucking time. Yeah. So have you ever had that thing where you're like, okay, how would my character do this thing, or this would have been cool if, and then you realize, wait, I actually did something earlier in my head script where that could actually fit perfectly with where I'm at now. Oh my god, I'm a fucking genius.
Oh, Lasse, you're calling me out because this literally happened 5 minutes before the podcast.
It's the best thing ever because I did this one oopsie thing, and then it's like, wait! Oh my god, yes, and then he can do this, and then she can say that because he did. Oh!
It's like, maybe I should change the scene because I guess it doesn't mean anything. Wait. But this means it's like a little orgasm for an artist when you make that connection. It is a very good feeling.
And it is and let's not mix words here. It is 100% pure luck.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Like, because the thing is, like, when you eventually have so many things running around your head, guarantee like all these opportunities could probably happen all the time, and you just don't see it. And maybe you're in a mode where you can see it, but then the opportunities just never show themselves. You gotta have to wait for like the stars to align for those moments to happen. But then, boom, I love it. I don't know what I'm saying.
But yeah,
it's a very good feeling.
It is the best, and it is one of those things where, like, again, that's only something that you can really discuss with other creators. Like, try and sell it to your parents or something, and they'll be like, "What in the fuck?"
Yeah.
Where did we go wrong?
Oh God! Listen, like, I love my dad a lot, but he also has. He doesn't know how to express human emotion to save his life.
He's a robot.
He's a big old robot. I love him. He's a very intelligent man. But God, he's got like the emotional range of a bucket. I don't even know what that fucking means. It's true.
It's a shallow bucket. Is that what?
It's a very shallow bucket. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess like I guess let's bring this back around real quickly. Like I'm glad we do have a space where we can just like punch words together and like come up with those epiphanies on the fly. Actually, what's the term where you're gonna like give a shout out to somebody? Give a shout out. Thank you, thank you, Lasse. I'm gonna give a shout out to the Lord of Lemons right now because we had a call and we had a group chat not a couple nights ago, and like he came up with this really cool idea for like his characters where he's got like his main race species that like control aura and shit. And there are like these other people who are like living batteries who can't control it on their own, but make technology to like use the aura for them. So like you've got like the people with superpowers and the people with super technology on the other side. And the way he was talking about it, we like everyone in the chat was like having like making these weird connections. It was like, oh my god, that's fucking cool. And I think like when we were all having those epiphanies, he started like adding them into his journal. It's like, oh shit, this is a good idea. Like just to give like the specific example, the technology people have this thing where they do not want to share their technology because it could be not only misused, it could also be used against them. And they're already at a disadvantage, like, conceptually.
Yeah.
And that shit, of all things, that shit reminded me of Animorphs. Because if you ever read that series or seen the TV show, shit's fucking weird.
I don't think we ever got Animorphs in Denmark.
Oh, man. We're going to have a talk about that later.
Okay.
But the thing about Animorphs, like, there's this thing where... This also happened in that series, which is kind of like it's like the crux of the entire series existing, where somebody's sharing their technology with these pathetic insects, and now they're starting an intergalactic fucking, like, conquering crusade. That's what I'm talking about, crusade. They started a crusade. It's all their fault. And I'm like, that's a good idea. Use it. And then we all just piled on and gave good ideas. That's the thing I wanted to say. Like, whenever we have, like, a bunch of people together, even if it's just someone sharing their ideas, you're always going to get, like, a bunch of people, like, clamoring and trying to share their own suggestions and their thoughts and the way they process it. And you're just free to, like, rip those ideas. Like, this shit's mine now. It's going in the story. Yeah. Fuck you. Actually, no, not fuck you. Thank you. Thank you genuinely. I like that feeling. It's a good feeling. Join servers.
I can imagine, however, that there is going to be points where, like, where everyone else is like, yeah, okay, but my comic, like, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that everyone is up to bat all the time to shout out their thing. And that is 100% good, but when you have a room that is just filled with people like that, it just becomes, what in the fuck? Like, where do I put my attention?
I think it's also... I think we're, like, mostly pretty good about people sharing their ideas. Because, like, you just gotta have, like, that ability to read the room and be like, okay, we're gonna... Like, everyone wants to share our ideas. We'll just, like, start a queue and, like, someone wants to say something, you'll share their ideas, but then... I end up having to be a moderator in these calls anyway, and that's how we make it work. Okay. You always get, like, the one person who genuinely cannot read a room and will just interrupt somebody mid-sentence or, like, switch the topic directly onto them at the first break for a breath. And that's not cool. That's really not cool. Let people talk.
To be fair, these are all writers and artists. I do not think a lot of those people get out a lot. Not just in general, not necessarily my community or anything, but just in general.
I mean, I feel like when you're like a group of like collective people trying to help each other, you kind of gotta learn eventually.
Oh, absolutely.
No, go ahead.
I'm not saying that like, oh, it's fine. It's just that I think that kind of comes with the territory, and it's up to the other people in those calls to then go, hey, this is not cool, this is not how you human.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta pull out the spray bottle and be like, no, bad kitty, beep beep. Where do we go from here?
I do not know. Wait, what did I come into? Nothing? Nothing?
No, you didn't see anything. Oh, okay, actually, something I wanted to bring up. Lasse.
Yeah.
How do you feel about listening to other people's insane breakdowns? Because I think it's personally very fascinating.
Okay, I need you to elaborate on what you mean by breakdowns. Do you mean like I'm gonna break down what my thing is, or do you mean Nikocado avocado breakdown?
I guess like it's like closer on the Nikocado thing. Only it's more like a writer breaks down. He has like an insane idea, and like goes like keeps coming up with more and more insane ideas, and then you take a step back and look at the insanity all unfold before you, and it's like the madness is its own art. That kind of thing.
Well, I can't really think. Like I've definitely had people who have reached out to me about like different ideas and something where they just kept on going and going and going and going and going. But never at any point did they have like the self-insight enough to like take a step back and go, wow, what the fuck did I just say? My favorite go-to is is a dude who I'm not gonna name any names, but he was the person who was questioning whether or not mind control equal rape.
Oh yeah,
just to set the stage, and nothing against the person, but yeah, but he told me about his story, and it was the most nuts shit I have ever fucking heard. I remember, and it's one of those things where I don't even know if that's necessarily a bad thing, because the fucked up thing is I still remember it because of how fucked up it was. But there was so he goes on for maybe an hour in a voice call, just nonstop about how God has a fight with what is essentially Cthulhu, and their fight creates a rift in time and space, and through that rift, people are able to access a different dimension, which is heaven, and people from that dimension are furries, and they come into our world or something like that. And it's like, and again, and so I'm like, okay, so that is like. That is the plot you're trying to tell, is that, okay, so God and Cthulhu are having a fight, and that summons furries. No, that is just the fucking introduction.
That's just the introduction.
The actual story is about all of these different characters, obviously chicks with huge tits, and then, like, there was some of the most batshit fucking thing. So, okay. There was one, and I'm probably gonna butcher the story. I think they canned the story at this point because it's years ago at this point. But I remember I had to actually like stop the guy and go, hold the fuck on, because he wanted to tell a story about one of the characters, who is a side character, by the way. Keep that in mind for the topic we're about to discuss. And he wanted her to have a low white blood cell count, essentially meaning that she's very like prone to sickness and stuff like that. Now, instead of just saying, "Hey, she has low white blood cell count," it became so her mom had AIDS, and so
I remember this.
And so when she was giving birth to her baby, some of her blood, some of her AIDS-filled blood entered the baby, who also had a wound at the time, and so she also got the super AIDS, but she doesn't have AIDS, but the AIDS gave her a low white blood cell count, and at that point I had to just fucking stop the guy and like, okay, hold on. So you have a world where Cthulhu fights God, and their fight is so, like, it's like the fucking Broly movie where Gogeta and Broly fight so hard that it causes a rift in time and space, and you want a a realistic reason as to quote unquote realistic reason for why your character has a low white blood cell count, and you thought it was a good idea to have that be because her mom had AIDS. And I know nothing about AIDS, but if you told me right this second that that's not how AIDS work, I would 100% believe you. But but I had to like stop him and go, "What the fuck are you doing?" And like, I don't see the problem. And I'm like, okay, this is gonna be one of those things, isn't it?
Oh god.
I don't even fucking think that the white blood, like her being prone to diseases, had anything to do with the story. I think it was legit just a thing that he wanted the character to have to make her interesting.
Okay. Oh my god, I completely forgot about all this, and you had to be there front and center. Okay, so I was gonna like tangent off to like the.
Oh fuck! Sorry.
No, it's okay. No. I'm glad you brought this up because like this is more interesting than what I was gonna bring up. Because I was just bringing up the something that's been trending right now is like the Mort DreamWorks theory, where he's like, because of like the way all these themes seem to be coming up, like how for some reason in Pixar films all the bad guys seem to be French, and the way Mort was like portrayed in All Hail King Julian, he's apparently an elder god, and it's canon, and it's insane. And it's like I think it's very entertaining to like watch some guy like put the pieces together and going off into insanity. But you had like an actual real example, and that's like, I guess because I didn't have to experience firsthand, that was incredibly fascinating to me.
So I think like the difference here is that I don't think that this was a person who was losing it. I think this was a person who never had it in the first place. It was like I think this legit came from a person who did not know why this was fucked. And that's a little bit scary. But other than that, it's like there's people who are just like losing it as they go. Like I brought him up in an early episode, but there was this one dude who was dead fucking certain that Death Stranding was gonna be Metal Gear Zero, and seeing there's a fucking 3-part video series of them visually explaining why Death Stranding is going to be Metal Gear Zero, and we're talking like. I think I brought it up, so sorry if I'm repeating myself, but he's taking various different words of the, like letters of the way that Metal Gear Solid is written in Metal Gear Solid 3, and then tipping it on its head, and then putting it in a random spot so some of those letters overlap with others, and then uses those letters to cut some letters out, and then he fills out the blanks, and it kinda, sorta, maybe, if you're high, looks like zero, like the word, even though Metal Gear has been using numbers this entire time. It is, like, that is a person who, and it gets crazier the further you go. But this is a person who just starts losing it more and more and more. But there are absolutely people who are just going off the deep end sometimes, and like it's one of those things where you, maybe not you, but I at least sometimes have to go, maybe it's me who's weird. Maybe it's just because that I'm a very, like, I think about a lot of the things that I say, even though I often say dumb shit. I obviously, no, not obviously. I oftentimes think a lot about, like, am I phrasing this right? Am I, where am I going with this? But when but then there's people who are like, fuck it. And so sometimes I think, is that just the way to be? Sometimes is it just the way to be to just say fuck it and just go with the flow, and that's how you end up with people like this dude here, where it's like, is that just how you're supposed to be? Like, just not think too much about it and just enjoy it, because I will gladly admit I'm overly analytical and critical about a lot of fucking things. Some things where it's like, again, we brought it up earlier, Final Fantasy VIII. Hey, they end up in a spaceship that's just flying around in outer space, and apparently it was hinted at before, but I don't really fucking call that, but who gives a fuck? But it's one of those things where I make a big fucking thing out of that and be like, oh my god, that's so stupid, when in fact it's like, who cares? They're using gun blades. Do you really want to fucking... is this the hill you want to die on? So there's also been like this one person. Again, it should be stated, I have nothing against these people that I'm bringing up, but it's just one of those things where I have to talk about it. I can't not. It's gonna eat away at me. But I think I've also mentioned this dude before. But there was a dude who wanted to make a full-on tabletop role-playing game of him and his friends role-playing in the world of that one hentai with the brown-skinned elf chick and the orcs.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those things where, have you fucking lost your absolute goddamn mind? What the shit is this? Or am I just too overly critical? And it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Go nuts.
I mean, me personally, I'm always skeeved out about, like, doing erotic roleplay with other people in a sitting. I maybe I'm the weird one on this but I prefer to keep my degeneracy either anonymously online or to myself in the comfort of my own bedroom.
I didn't even fucking want an erotic roleplay with my ex doing in the bedroom. Like, how the fuck am I supposed to do it with friends?
I know, but I mean, like, I guess if that floats your boat and that's what turns you on, if it works for all of you, good for you, but I would have been happier if I didn't know that.
I could swear I brought this up, but again, I need to just fucking ask the question, what do you do? Like, how do you play how do you win? How do you win this game? Like,
I'm assuming it plays like Warhammer or like D&D rules where like somebody has to be the arbiter of the sex and you gotta like roll for it.
Well, like, what? Okay, here's my question.
Okay, go ahead.
What happens if you crit?
You shoot and do, my dude.
You just keep rolling until you crit.
Okay. So here's my curse knowledge for the day. For a laugh, my DM, she was on TikTok and she found this cursed PDF of like a D&D sex manual, and it's not like how to do sex positions and to be reminiscent of the game. No, they actually gamify the act of coitus, and it's weird. I know, but it's so fucking weird because the race of your character matters for how much you can satisfy somebody. It also goes doubles.
That's a stereotype. I like that stereotype.
Your class decides something, how good you are in the sack, your spells, your class abilities, every little aspect of D&D has been gamified to specifically enhance the six.
I think so. That's fucking. That's amazing. But you know what's almost equally as amazing and hilarious?
What?
This is the moment that Luke McKay decided he wanted to follow the stream. God! So the chat brought it up, and I need to tell this story. It is one of the most. Unless were you done with yours?
The other thing I wanted to say, I think the most cursed thing is that you can actually roll a d8 to figure out the circumference of your anus. to denote how much experience you've had. It is the worst fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Do you want as high a number as possible or as low a number as possible?
Depends if you want to be like a virgin or not.
So a virgin is 0.
There's like if you have, I hate to explain it because it's so awful, but supposedly the way the game gamifies it, if you've never had it before, it's a 0. But like the higher you roll, the higher the circumference and the higher experience you have on your seduction checks.
Oh my god, this stream right here, more than anyone else, has just been a smorgasbord of things to call this episode. Holy shit. Anal circumference. I'm gonna write that one down. Hold on. Anal circumference checks.
Hi everybody. If you just joined the stream, you came in when I was saying something awful again.
Oh fuck. Okay, so yeah, I had to tell this story because oh my god, this is the fucking weirdest. So remember how I have been very upfront that I roleplayed on World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
So me and some friends, we were hanging out in a place in World of Warcraft called Booty Bay, which is like a harbor city. It's supposed to be a very southern Caribbean inspired place. And so we're hanging out there, we're doing a thing, and then I go into the nearby tavern, and so in World of Warcraft, you can have what is called a flag RSP, which is essentially a little, like when you click on people, a little document is in the corner of the avatar icon, and you can click on that, and you can basically read the description and all this stuff about the character. Like, what are you seeing? What are you, what is the story or something? So you have a better idea of what character am I standing in front of? Because the models in World of Warcraft leave a lot to be desired. So it's not like you can actually like, oh, my character has Hydrochrome Iridium or something like that. It's so you kind of have to write that. And so I bump into this person who's, I think they're standing naked on top of the bar counter. And so I see that they have this RSP, and I'm like, why the fuck are they standing naked on top of the bar counter? So I like click this thing, and that is when I'm introduced to the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. It is a RSP that has in big bold letters the pregnancy game.
Oh god.
And so the thing is that you could erotic roleplay with this character, but you had to finish inside of her for whatever reason.
Oh.
And you then had to roll so in World of Warcraft you roll between 0 and 100, and you had to roll. And if you were either over or under a specific number, you would she would become pregnant. And it was one of those things where it's like there was a fucking disclaimer in the fucking bottom of this where it's like, hey, you don't actually have to role play you becoming a parent or anything. It is just whether or not my character gets pregnant or not. So and it was like, I have never seen someone be so upfront with their kink like this. Like again, this is something everyone and the fucking mom can see by just clicking on them, and it's right there in big bold letters. Hey, fucking impregnate me, daddy.
Okay, Lasse. I'm not familiar very much with Final Fantasy 14, but I know, the only thing I know about it is the reputation of the Balmung server, where that shit is rampant, because that is the RP server for that game.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like when you're out of that, I feel like in every space there's always going to be people who love to take RP like too far.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of people like that.
real quick.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanna get your rocks off, if you wanna fucking just ERP till your balls shrink to the size of a peanut, if you wanna jerk your shit to whatever is on screen, you go right the fuck ahead as long as it's legal. I'm not about to stop you, kink shame you, or anything like fucking that. But it's one of those things where you come in and it's just in your face, like getting slapped in the face with a fish. It's like, what in the fuck is going on here?
I genuinely think there has to be like spaces for this kind of thing. You can't just go out with your cock out in the middle of like Central Park Zoo.
Why not? No, but I definitely, I definitely agree that. Again, like I'm very much like a sex positive guy. You do whatever the fuck you want as long as it's legal. But so I think like as I've grown older, it has become more and more of like, think of the children, like, and especially for World of Warcraft here, something where it's like, there is on the server I used to play on, you could not go to Goldshire, which is the first town you really get to as a human, and it's right outside of the of Stormwind, which is like the main hub for the Alliance. You could not go there without very, very blatantly be hit in the face with not just sex, but like the most balls to the wall, hardcore fetish won't even show up on Pornhub shit. Like, I remember I was doing a fucking quest at one point, and I go into a barn, and there's people who are just legit shitting in each other's mouth. And it's one of those things where you can, if you want to fucking do that, you can go into a party and you can just do whatever the fuck. And sure enough, people might figure out what's going on if there's two undressed avatars standing and not talking. But it's better than just out in public being like, and then I squat down and then I like.
I think that in itself, the exhibition or humiliation thing is the thing that gets them off. Where like they just want to do it in public, and because it's raunchy or because they're actual creeps and are awful people. But it's like, I can understand it, but it's definitely something I don't condone.
Yeah.
Like, because it's like, I honestly feel whatever the hell you're doing in your own little private chat, in your own like house or far off area, but if I'm like grinding against some monsters and you're grinding behind a tree while I'm trying to kill something, I feel like there's some sort of conflict of interest here.
Don't get too close. I'm swinging this sword around. You might want to lose some. You might end up losing something. But yeah, there are definitely people who don't give a fuck, and it's one of those things where I don't know. I think I've reached a point now where I would like it to be moderated a little bit. I don't want to be a prude or anything, because again, I would like to think I'm very sex positive or something. But again, if it's games like Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft where children can just get in, I am not like super fond of the fact that little Lucas at the age of 11 can log on and be taught what unbirthing is.
Oh god.
Enjoy your horniness, but don't be a creep and be so public about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think, like, what Alice said about, like, personal experience says having a space like that is a very good thing. The Goldshire, the Balmung place, whatever, as it serves as a filter and gets the creeps out of the normal spaces.
Yeah. But,
yeah.
But the problem is then still that those places are, like, if it had been, I don't know, some weird cave or something far off the beaten path in World of Warcraft where people were doing this shit, then it wouldn't be that much of a problem because everyone and their goddamn mom can like just go there and do whatever. And it's far away from where people might just happen to come across. But but when it's a place where you are no doubt going to come by accident, by quest, by design or whatever, then I'm way cool about having it, but keep it out of the way for other people. So like you said, have a housing or something. Like again, in World of Warcraft, you had garrisons where it was like an instance place where only you and your friends could be. Like, do it there. Don't do it where little Lucas can go in and see this shit.
Oh god. Okay, so I came back from a repressed memory when we were having this conversation. I think like my first experience of this, I was like 14 years old and playing MapleStory of all things. Mm. The most popular place is like one of the starting towns, Hennessy. I don't know, whatever. I keep confusing it with the alcohol now. Point is, I'm there, like going around talking to the townspeople, doing the quest, little baby, his first MMO kind of thing. And I enter one of the houses to like talk to one of the NPCs, and I see these two people, just like without any clothes, crouching up and down, and like one of them's casting like a healing spell that makes him do this like grunting motion, and someone's spamming the F1 key to force the face that makes it look like you're punched. And like I didn't put it together because I was dumb child. I was like, I'm just here for the quest.
That's a lot
and like
of
said,
work.
Hey, it is. But apparently they were just like bumping uglies everywhere. And like they told me, hey, do you want to join in? And I'm like, no, I'm on a quest. Bye. And I just left.
Can you imagine that in like real life? It's just like people go, hey, you wanna get in on the action? Like, no, I'm on a quest. I need to get 8 apples for grandma, and she'll give me a sword.
That's basically what was happening. I think the quest I was doing, I was actually trying to get a special hat. No, I need this hat. You don't understand. I have no items on me. I need to get this fucking hat. Okay, bye. Enjoy healing, I guess. Want to tag in? No can do. The grocery shop closes in 5 minutes. Oh, I love that. It was cursed, and I love how I didn't understand what the hell was going on.
You were way too innocent for your own good.
I was way too innocent for my own good. Now I'm a fucking awful degenerate. Soldier like TF2 was playing.
Give me your hat.
Give me your hat.
I remember that one where it's like, oh, what are we gonna do? Give me your hat. Are you sure you don't want to do anything? Give me your hat.
Oh no, I lost a Pokemon battle, but I don't have any money. Is there something else you want? Give me your hat. Yeah. Which one of you weirdos want an ass whooping? How did we get here?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Every time we have these podcasts, we always end up at like near the end of going, how in the we went from talking about Elsaron. Okay, maybe that's not as big a leap, but
to be fair, we were talking like actually serious about Elsaron Chronicles. We weren't even riffing on it today.
No, okay, we were having a serious talk about Elsaron Chronicles, and now we're talking about anal circumference checks.
Fuck it, make that the podcast.
Absolutely. I don't know if we can have it on our platforms, but
just call it roll for circumference check.
Roll for circumference check. Okay. I'm gonna write that down real quick.
Oh, lordy. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Because I feel like that's a weird place to end it, but I'm happy with that.
You know what? Fuck it. It's a good place to end it. I'm also very tired. We've had a big fucking day at work today. So
I gotta go back to work and like after this. But I will read some questions though.
And some questions? But where did people send those?
Oh, you see, they can send them to webcastrelief@gmail.com.
So people can roll their circumference checks and tell us the result at webcastrelief@gmail.com.
Yes, they can. It's a D8, everybody. Oh God. Okay. First one, we got a question. All right. Catch it. No, we're not leaving you. We're not leaving. You're leaving, Luke. Oh shit. Be safe.
Take care.
So our first question comes from Caesar, and he says, Riser touched on how his ex did RP. Does that mean Riser dated a furry? Did she know about the infamous line from the concession review?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't think I've ever really hid that she was a furry. I remember you specifically. You teased me about you fucking you talked mad shit about furries, and now some of your biggest supporters, your best friends, your girlfriend, all that shit are furries. But yeah, she was a how to put this. Yes, she was a furry, but she wasn't the idea that I at least have of most furries. Like she could operate and exist outside of that. She didn't want to struggle, snuggle, or any of that yiffing stuff or anything, at least to my knowledge. But yeah, she was a furry, and I suppose that comes from the whole the guy who wanted to fucking go nuts on her. Yeah. Yeah, I guess there's not. She did know about the line, and we actually had a lot of talks about furries and stuff. She had this whole thing of every time that she was like creating characters and stuff like that, she would always go, all right, so this dude is a lion, and he is, what the fuck term was it you call it? Demisexual? I don't know what that means. But I just remember it because he's a god, and so god, whatever. But like she would go into these like long explanations about her characters, and I was always like, why? Like, this is all well and good, but I'm seeing so many of these furry characters that have all this lore, all this like that makes them unique and special. But what, like, if you're not gonna put them in any writing or anything, what's the point of giving them this much depth? And so we would often actually it's getting a little serious. We would often have like talks and not fights but arguments about these things, because I was like, I think I was very much of a dick back then, and I think we talked about it in the last podcast about this whole thing about like separating Riser and Lesser, and at that point I had this issue where I was Riser, so it was like very very overly critical about this whole thing. I was like, but I think what I was trying to do was just encourage her to do something with it, because my ex is very talented and very creative, and I wish that she would like make a story or something with her characters, but what it ended up with being is like, this is fucking stupid, which was Riser and not me. And so yeah, we had some arguments about it, but she was well aware that I had a strenuous relationship with furries, but we made it work. Oh well, not in the long run, but at the time we made it work despite of it.
Alrighty. So I didn't talk about my girlfriend being my ex-girlfriend being a furry because she wasn't. But I kind of had the same situation, only I think so my ex-girlfriend was really into RP, like unhealthily so. I'm not gonna delve too much on that front, but like I can kind of I see where you're coming from, because she had characters upon characters, lots of them with very intricate lore, and she had a story she always wanted to tell, and she would tell it to me from like the bottom of her heart, and that always made me happy to hear, because I live for that kind of shit. I love hearing about people's ideas and their characters, and like, because they think about these things all the time. We were actually talking in the middle of the podcast how when you have an idea and you just fucking clicks, and it's like, oh fuck, that's a good idea. I love hearing that, and I love when people share that. It also like disheartened me because like she never made a writing for it. No. Like the closest things that her characters were being used was when I went out of my way to like commission people to actually get customized dolls of her characters being made. Because I wanted her to like see them like in physical form, and it was really cool. But like nothing came of it because again we broke up and like she never made her story. But I do hope that there's no fucking way she's listening to this right now. But I do hope that she like fucking goes on with that idea because it was always really good. Don't be afraid to make the thing, even if you think it's bad. But if you put in so much effort, something's gonna come from it, dude.
I will say that maybe this is us kind of projecting like our interests upon theirs because like we're going, hey, if you have lore and depth to your characters, you need to do something writing like with it, and that's because like that's what we want to see. But as I have grown older and stuff, I kind of realized that sometimes you make these detailed and in-depth characters just because you like to draw them. And so if you have like this lore behind them, you more understand like what scenes can I put them in where I can be happy about it. Like if you had, what is the fiery chick from Anarchy Dreamers called? Devlin? Yeah. Like so obviously Devlin is in a comic, a very well written comic, very in-depth written comic, but let's pretend that Anarchy Dreamers didn't exist and you had Devlin. I think that if you have like the character set out for Devlin and her persona or something, you won't necessarily see her in like, let's say that you want to make a beach drawing, right? And then you have to like figure out what would Devlin wear. I don't think that Devlin will wear like a onesie. Maybe she's probably more like a bikini kind of girl. And so if you have this character in your head about how your character that you're drawing would like how they function, I think you will have an easier time and be more happy about the products that you create of that character. Maybe that's just me.
I think it also is important to like realize, because the chat did bring this up, where it's like sometimes the most valid reason is just I just think they're neat.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. And I think even if you don't draw or make a story or like do anything with them, despite all the work you put in, I think there's like a line we kind of should accept where just the act of making these characters is intrinsically fun to do. Just having them is intrinsically fun. It's its own reward to say.
But I will also say that there are times where we as outsiders can look at people's work and be like, this is so fucking good. It's a shame that you don't do anything besides that with it. I have a friend who is an amazing writer, and she makes the best horror writing that I have ever read. And there's so much, like, it is so, how do I describe it? It's some of that shit that gets under your skin, right? And not a lot of, like, so much horror nowadays are monsters and ex killers and all that shit. And then you have this person who's able to write these stories where it leaves you with this kind of dread and like uncomfortableness that a good horror story should do. And I keep telling them, please fucking just go on some kind of writing posting site and get this shit out there, because I want this person to get the recognition of their skills and their hard work and stuff, but nothing has happened yet. I'm still pushing for it. So yeah, I think that it's a mixture of both respect what a person wants with what they're doing, but also it never hurts to encourage them.
Seriously, that's honestly what it all comes down to. Just like inspire people, encourage them, because like the best you can do with somebody when they have an idea is to encourage. Well, asterisk. We're talking about like ideas in terms of like creative projects.
Yeah. If
someone has an idea to rob a bank, don't encourage that.
No. I was trying to make a joke, but I don't have one.
But yeah, encourage creativity. It's good and wholesome.
Absolutely.
All right. One more question from Shane O'Brien. We're putting a team together. Dear Webcast Relief, I have 2 questions for you. 2. The first... Oh, fuck, my fucking dyslexia. Alright. The first question that might already be talked about at the time of this subject is far more near, but if you didn't talk about it with Chris Chan court case coming up, do you think that this trial will be as what people call our O.J. Simpson trial of the 2020s? It will affect the internet and subculture for good or worse. Second question, what is your opinion change on Sprite Web... We're skipping this one. Okay, no, I'm sorry. What is your opinion change on Sprite webcomics from your days at the 8-Bit Theater Review and thoughts on other webcomics that, instead of drawn, use movie clips or toys or photo stock as backgrounds, like Alien Loves Predator? P.S. Enjoy your Danish card traps and your big truck Cloudy. If it was in GTA, I would so steal it. It sounds awesome.
Oh my...
So this was from last week.
I can't... That's a blast from the past. Have you ever read Alien Loves Predator?
No, I haven't. But this sounds like you're going to tell me about it, so tell me about it.
I wish I could, but I only remember reading the shit out of it as a child. I actually don't recall what it's about, but that was actually like Shane in the email brings up. It was a person who had a toy alien and a toy predator, and would then just take pictures of them and Photoshop them into different scenes, and then hilarity would ensue. And I used to love the shit out of that. But as for the whole, I guess we're taking them in reverse order. But my opinion on Sprite comics. So, I still stand by some of what I said in my second ever review. It is so long ago. But like at the beginning of 8-Bit Theater, I will happily admit I did not read all the way to the end, because that shit is fucking long. But like at the beginning of that, it is fucking dog shit. If you're doing that review came out at a time where I was very young and very inexperienced, and so I think I would like to add a caveat to that, being that I do not like 8-bit Sprite comics, because you can't fucking do anything with 8-bit. Well, you know, of course now with Photoshop, but at the time where it's just like inserted with paint or whatever the fuck, you could not tell what was going on at any point in time, and that was atrocious. Now I don't know if you noticed, but I'm talking with a fantastic sprite animator, and I have seen firsthand that you can get amazing stuff out of sprites. So I think that I won't say I've changed my mind, but I'm elaborating more of what I disliked back then, which was the 8-bit thing. Because now you can definitely tell that you can absolutely make it work. And then again, you have the whole like carnivores where he could clearly only get so many sprites, and that's why suddenly Goku shows up, and the lion could only had only 2 ways of being, which was standing and roaring. So like shit like that, not great. Help me out there, Claudia. Do you have anything to weigh in on?
Okay, so I take psychic damage every time I think of my first Sprite comic I ever made. It was the dumbest, the most wordy, the most incomprehensible thing in my entire life, and I will not show anybody or remind anybody of it. But I can definitely say it's way harder to do a good Sprite comic, but it is possible. Oh fuck! Now I feel sad. But way back in the day when I was in like high school, middle school, I had a friend named Quaid, who was also a Maple Story animator, but he also made really, really beautiful like Sprite comics. because he would not only like take the backgrounds and the characters, but he'd do like everything he fucking could with them. To like, he would mess around with the text. He would like have like these. He would fuck around with the borders. He would do this weird thing where it looked like a storyboard, where like if you put it into animation, it would be, but it wasn't as simple. It is so hard to describe because like he did this in fucking middle school. But it's like you can do some really good shit with sprite comics. It's just I'm gonna say like the ceiling for it is way higher than just like slapping things on a screen and just putting like MS Paint text on it. It's possible to make really good ones, but I'll admit it's way harder. I went into animation because I can't do this with comics, but this is just me.
I will say, like, you're probably limited when you're doing sprites. Obviously, like, it depends on the type of sprites you're using, but like if you're, for example, with 8-bit theater, as was the case at the time, you like at that point you're limited to video game sprites from the old Sega Nintendo consoles or whatever they're from. I didn't play Final Fantasy, but anyway. So there's only so much you can do, and you have to work your brain around that. And so oftentimes people can't do that. But the people who can do that can get some really good stuff out of it. But it's one of those things where I think they could get even more out of it if they weren't limited like that. Go on.
I'm under the mindset that like I feel comfortable with these restrictions because it's for me it's one less thing to worry about. Even though this sounds completely counterproductive, but sometimes when you give somebody the world to play with, they just get paralyzed and they can't do jack shit. Whereas when they have like a medium they're really good with, or they're comfortable with, or if there's something that they know, even if they take in all the limitations, if they work within them, they can maximize it to what they can possibly do.
Yeah.
Like I can't I can't fucking draw. That's why I do sprites. But at the same time, even when I try, I can't get the same flow as I do when I animate. I can't draw a comic because that's just not in my wheelhouse.
No.
Yeah. But it's like it's just the thing, like everyone has different equipment to work with, and some people are when they don't have to worry about like drawing all the models, and they don't have to worry about like composition and like the nitty gritty details of how to put a good picture together. When you have those limitations set for you, you can focus on all the other shit, like fluidity, like good writing, like good expressions, plot twists, execution. When you have something taken care of, it's like a light switch for some people. Again, this isn't like, this is like different for everybody. I can say like even those limitations are a really good thing for certain people. Is what I'm trying to say.
I can see that. And I will also say, like, again, there are definitely people who can make it work. I know that Alice and I can't recall the name of the comic because I found it when I was way young. But it was a comic that was made almost entirely out of like 70s, like those typical comics that you would see in newspapers or something. It was like, "Hi, Billy Bob, would you like to go and play some ball?" Like that style of art, and it was always like the most fucked up shit that like they were talking about, and it was so funny exactly because it was so limited. There was this one where someone is like on a call with someone, like a lady is on a call with a man, and she's just explaining how bad her period is and going into like the most insane details about it. And the last frame is just, Jesus fucking Christ, who is this? And it's just like, that's fucking great because when you portray it with this type of style, it's like, you don't expect that. And so you get like, you obviously when you see these things, you're at the style of at the time, people were a lot more like reserved. They were a lot less like open about these fucked up things. So when you have a style that betrayed that, and when it was just so simple, you could focus almost exclusively on what was being said, and that really highlighted the humor. So to go back to what Shane was asking, I definitely feel that if you Anomaly, I think the comic is called, if you have the tools to make something, use those tools. If those tools are toys that you take photos of, if it is pixel art, if it is music, if it is tap dancing, dance, whatever, if you feel like I can convey what I want to through this, do it. I know that there are some screenwriters out there who has explained some of the action, the scenes that are going to take place in a movie using fucking the map creator in Warcraft 3. Like, if that's sometimes if the tool you need to convey your story or whatever you want is a little unorthodox, fuck it.
Oh, that just made me remember something. How Gmod, that shit that was just hijacking the engine for Half-Life, was the inspiration for creating the Source filmmaker. So everyone was using Gmod for movies. Like, fuck it, I guess we'll just try to make it a little easier for you.
You can thank the fucking Gmod for 10% of Pornhub right now.
God bless. God bless us, everyone. But yeah, limitations are good sometimes if you can work around them.
I think
just don't.
Go on.
No, you go. You go on.
I think Alice likes to bring this up, where it's like sometimes certain things are made because of the limitations. What the fuck was it? Like, for example, Resident Evil, the old Resident Evil, when they had to like have that animated scene where they, walk up to the door and it opens and you enter the new room. That is obviously there to hide a loading screen. But by having that, it has this feeling of anything could be behind this fucking door and it might jump out at me. And it builds something up. Like they use the limitations to create to enhance the original product. Fucking Silent Hill. Silent Hill 1 and 2, they have the fog to limit the draw distance because the PlayStation cannot fucking handle it. Like, and it's one of the best things about Silent Hill.
I can literally only see 2 feet ahead, but it makes everything so terrifying.
Exactly.
The moment you have Pyramid Head pop in is the moment your heart fucking stops.
Yep.
So yeah, that was a good way to answer the second question. First one, I think the trial actually didn't happen.
No, it got postponed.
It got postponed, so I guess that's our answer.
Yeah, but when it does happen, saying that it will be the O.J. Simpson is probably going a little too nuts. It's one of those things where Christine is just a autistic person who raped their elderly, demented mother, who happened to be a webcomic creator. I don't think that there's gonna be like a precedence for this, unless some kind of unless the actions of Christine can be traced back to that chick who leaked the call, because apparently she's an entire bag of worms, and people. So it's one of those weird things where people are assuming that she put Christine up to it, or maybe that Christine didn't even do anything and it's just her editing the audio. But it's one of those things where it's like, like you can tell that like everything that Chris is saying is very Chris, and it's very like the flow is natural for in the director's cut of the call. So it's one of the things. I don't think that something has been taken. Like it's not that like Christine said. Yeah, so I didn't have sex with my mom. Like it's not like that didn't was taken out. It's like
okay. No, it's like no. Chris did it. Like there's no way around it. Like even if this crazy person put Chris up to it, you at this point because Chris, this isn't just one count. This is something that has been going on for a month.
Yeah. Plus, let's not forget the fact that she openly bragged about it to Null. Like months, like a month or two before it was dropped. So it's. I think, like, if anything, it's going to be interesting to follow this court case and see where it's going to go, because there's a lot of weird factors up in the air that will decide the outcome. Is Barbara actually, like, lucid enough to make decisions or not? Is Chris are they going to factor in the online harassment? Are they not? Are they going to factor in the fact that she broke the thing where she's not allowed to see have anything to do with her mom?
Where she like stole money out of her account.
That one really, I mentioned it on the day off or something. That one fucking pissed me off. It's one thing to fucking rape your own mom and believe that she liked it and it was a mutual thing. But this one is just fucking like there's no way you can go oh no it's fine. No, it's like you fucking stole money from your parents. What the fuck?
The police told you not to do it.
Yeah, you got explicit information not to do it.
Like, I think, like, okay, real quick. I recently watched a live stream where Null was explaining what was going down on those nights, and, like, to hear the dejection in his voice was something else. Null is the one who created Kiwi Farms. Yeah. Like, he has admitted he has this weird attachment to Christine, where, like, even though he doesn't entirely condone all the shit, he will go out of his way to help and defend Christine from, like, crazy people.
Yeah.
And, like, he even had to explain, it's like, Chris never fucking learns. To the point where Chris was defending crazy bitch, doing everything that Chris could do to say, like, no, but it's not their fault. So, Chris is openly being manipulated because this person's a girl.
Yeah.
So, that's a fucky thing. But like the whole interaction where he was talking about Barbara, where Christine was telling Null what was going on, he said, like, I think when I've realized that Barbara was the one, like Chris knows exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
Chris knows for a fact that Chris is doing a bad thing. So if you want to, like, blame autism or whatever, it's like, that's not going to fly. Because Chris knew that this was a bad thing and did it anyway, and is getting a kick out of possibly getting caught. So there's no really remorse behind it, so you can't really even use the whole... I mean, they're going to try, obviously, because that's what other defense you have. But, like... Chris knew that this was a bad thing, and Chris still did it regardless.
Yeah, I have an addendum to that question for you, Cloudy. Do you think that the cataloging of Chris, to the extent that exists, do you think that's going to help or hurt Christine's trial?
It's... Okay, do you want my honest opinion?
No, I want you to lie. Of course I want you to lie.
I think it's going to be a non-factor.
Okay.
Because the way the justice system works in the United States, you can literally have an entire fucking catalog of data proving somebody. You can have this mountain of evidence and still watch someone go free. Like that's not just a pessimistic thing. The reason they do that is because, like, depending on where the evidence is sourced, it could either be like, even though circumstantial evidence is really important, like, you can, like, the entire Wikipedia can be seen as like a biased source. So there could be, so even though you have the fucking tape, even though you have the fucking website, even though you have a forum and like millions of people talking about it, there could be a thing where none of it gets taken into account because it could either be, you know, unuseful. It could be someone else trying to change the narrative. It's gonna be entirely up to the detective finding out on their own, coming to their own conclusions, and then going to the jury to see what they feel.
But could you, like, so I'm not a lawyer. Big shocker, I know.
No lawyer either.
I play a lot of Phoenix Wright, that's about it. But could you, for example, use all these videos of Chris being either weird or bullied or something like that to influence the jury to be like, no, look at her, she's just a crazy girl looking for love? Because like, as everyone has been over a million times, Chris is this weird amalgamation of where you flip-flop between going fuck you, Chris, and I feel so sorry for you, Chris. So if you just took all those parts out where it just like looks like you're feeling that makes you feel bad for Chris, do you think, like, again, because that exists and they could eat, and again, sometimes it's not about what the truth is or something. Sometimes it is what can you influence the people in the court to believe or feel or whatever. So a lawyer could absolutely just play a fucking montage of all these different clips and say they're pertaining to the case, and then influence the jury to make them feel sorry for her.
I mean, you could totally do that, but at the same time, you can also play the audio for the phone call where Chris admits to raping their mother for a month.
And say that God gave her permission.
Yeah. So, see, that's the thing. Like, you can totally try to sway, like, okay, legally you're not supposed to, but that's what they always fucking do anyway. But, like, you can do it one way or the other. It's just, if you try to do that, then, like, the prosecution's gonna go in showing the time Chris fucked the PS5, or, again, show up the audio.
PS3.
PS3, sorry.
Get your law right.
I'm a fake Christorian. But like, essentially, they probably will find a way to do that, but, like, that's also not a risky play. That's also a risky play because, like, one, you're trying to sway the jury without, like, with a non-meaningful evidence, or two, the prosecution counters showing either the full clip where they, like, cut it off, and when Chris starts, like, trying to incite violence against this one person for being gay and, like, misgendering them and all that shit. They can pull, like, the prosecution can pull the same fucking shit, and they're just gonna go back and forth with that. So, God, to be a fly on the wall or to be on the jury for Chris Chan's trial is gonna be insane.
Can you? So I'm.
So it's
I'm
bummed out. You can, but it's not the best idea. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So I'm bummed out by the fact that you're not allowed to record anything, but I'm amazed that they are making it an open court case. Like, if there's room for you, you can go into that courtroom and witness the entire fucking thing. You're just not allowed to record it. And that is fucking wild to me. But like, I had like a thought that I wanted to run by you as the last thing here while you were talking, which is, do you think, like, if you were legal or whatever that lawyer is called, who breaks down court cases, do you think if they could get a fucking tape, a recording of of this trial, do you think that if he made a video about that, he would just win YouTube forever?
Listen, I guarantee you every lawyer YouTuber who, when this shit drops, even if it's just the minutes posted, they are gonna be eating fine for fucking months. They're gonna be eating this shit up, breaking it down. Everyone's YouTubes are gonna be covered in like lawyer videos and lawyer reactions. Chris Chan did what? Oh god, Christmas came early for these fuckers.
And I'll be there for it.
Me too.
You can fucking complain or do whatever about them beating a dead horse so much about like this entire topic, but hey, they gotta eat. But
yeah,
I'm the exact sucker who will eat this shit up.
I know. Listen. They deserve it because like I feel like everybody has had like some contact with Chris. It's like Chris is an inevitability.
Yeah.
Remember when Chris made an amiibo of you, and then Curse Me Yame had your amiibo?
Well, it wasn't me.
No, it was you. It was you and a bunch of other creators who did documentaries on him. Her.
I'm being serious? No, legit, it wasn't me. It was her brother. Her brother also So we know someone, you and I, we know someone who actually got in contact with Chris, wishing to. Didn't know about it. So they actually reached out to Chris. Because like everyone was flipping the fucking shit. Like, did Chris legit make a fucking amiibo of Ryza and could you hide it? But no. It turns out that so this person reached out, and she's a female, a very pretty female. So of course it was a highway to Chris. If you're a pretty female, you got a landline directly to Chris's phone if you wanted. And so she inquired about like buying this thing. I was like, hey, by any chance, is this thing built on the webcomic reviewer Ryza from the Webcomic Relief? And Christine was like, no, it's my brother. Because apparently her brother is also a bald guy who reviews, who wears glasses, and sometimes wears a sixpence.
Huh.
I was over the fucking moon when I saw this. I'm like, yes, I have a foot in Christery. And then I'm like, oh, okay, it's not me.
Aww.
So it's Cole Smithy. It's not me.
I'm still gonna tell people it's you.
That's fine.
I like that better.
So no, I don't have a footprint in Christery yet.
Aww. Well, you know what? Maybe you will when you get to the next part of Sonichu and we go dive deep into the fucking hell.
Which, real quick, 75% the script writing. I'm so sorry that it has taken so long, but I have been a fucking busy bee with fucking... I became an uncle, and there's been marriages and all this shit. So I have been very busy, but I am so sorry that it took so long. I hope that the reaction video was going to bridge the gap. But don't worry, I'm hard at work on it, and you will see it before long.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to end.
Yeah. So, see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.